God bless you and welcome to the Hour of Power. Thank you for tuning in to NJ Television. We are coming to you live from the office and the store of Healthy You Pharmacy. Today is the day that the Lord has made, and we shall rejoice and be glad in it. Listen, I would ask that you would like and subscribe, to your friends, tell your families, tell your neighbors that we're on. We thank God for this day. We thank you for tuning in. And it's a blessing to have yet another opportunity to declare the goodness, the greatness, and the glory of God. This is the Hour of Power on NJ Television, where we uh, come to empower and to encourage the people of God about the goodness of God. And so we just thank God for you tuning in. We don't take this time lightly, and we thank God for being God in our lives. Uh, all is well here, and we hope all is well at your house. We thank God for His goodness, His greatness. Again, like and subscribe to your friends, family that we're on. If you have any questions, write them in the chat room, and we will get to them. We have a new hour. We coming to you from the 5:30 hour, and I think we're going to use this hour for our winter time in the winter months. We thank you all for tuning in. I thank God for your wife and our beautiful church mother, my mother, being with us. And again, we thank God for you all for tuning in. We, for the last, how long? 14, since March, we have been talking about this corona, COVID-19. We dare not glorify in it, but we wanted to give you all valuable nuggets that you can use and apply to your life. Um, from day one, we said, don't listen to what they're saying, listen to what they're not saying. And for day one, we tried to be a reliable source of information. Everybody has said everything, everybody has changed, and I wanted to empower the people of God with some good information. Um, and so we took a little break. I think we took a 2-week break. Um, and this last 2 weeks has really been rough for me because um, it just verified the very thing we've been saying from day one. Listen to what they're not saying. There's so much they're not telling us. Don't just, don't just take their word for it. Check out the information for yourself. And then, to find out that President Trump knew back in February that this thing was airborne. And so I hope that we have been a reliable source of information for you all. We have to do research. We have taken the time to look up things, and then taking the time to give you information that you can take to the bank. You can't take Brother Trump to the bank because he didn't arm us with good information. And the church folks, we use the scripture where there's no vision, the people perish. We throw that out there all the time. But the right translation is where there is no revelation, the people perish. So, we try to give you good information. We try to reveal to you good information so you can be safe, your family can be safe. And not just for New Jerusalem. I know I'm talking a lot, but not just for New Jerusalem, for our people. We have found out that this virus have affected our people of color, economically, health-wise, in every aspect of our life. We have been affected. I heard the other day that when the white man have a cold, the black man have pneumonia. And so we have been affected twice as hard. Please bear with us. We're having some technical difficulties, but I hope you can hear us fine. I think our internet is kind of going in and out. But we have been affected um, in alarming rate, in alarming numbers. Our pocketbooks, our health, insurance, um, and so even the stories we hear on TV scenarios. Um, you know, if you get a ventilator, it's only because of you have good insurance, and then that's at best to say they gave you a ventilator, because that's the tail end. And so our people have really been affected. And I wanted to build a platform, to make a platform, to give good information, so you all could hear and then spread to your loved ones. This ain't for the masses. If you're tired of talking about Corona, turn us off. If if you don't want to hear about Corona, turn it off. You don't have to turn the channel. But our people is being affected, not just our church. Our people has been affected, and I wanted to do something to help. And the last couple of weeks, we then found out again that we've been lied to about something that we should have the information. Um, Back in February, and we are in the healthcare industry. Back in February, we couldn't get masks. Back in February, we couldn't get gloves. We couldn't get hand. You notice the hand sanitizer changed. It used to be Jello. Now it's liquid. You know, um, it's a whole lot of items that we tried to get to help our people that was gone. When Trump mentioned, and I know I'm going long, but when Trump talked about bleach, we had to take bleach off the shelf.
Right, right.
They would come in here and ask for bleach. We say, well, what you need it for? you know, and it is my desire to help the people of God, and that's what we're gonna do.
Right.
We're gonna equip the people of God with the Word of God, and then we're gonna equip the people of God with sound and good information that you can trust. You can't trust TV. Can't trust the media. The media is guided. It's funded by businessmen, and so uh, they're going to present a scenario of things going to normal. They're going to try to rearrange these numbers. The things is going back to normal, and we still don't have adequate, because they didn't lie to us. And so
Prepared.
we going to do our best to prepare the people of God. Uh, that's my preach for the week. And so this is why, because usually our power is really our Bible study. But I felt the need, I felt the urge to move our Bible study and to talk about things that the television, the media, the president is not telling us.
Right.
And that's been our endeavors from day one, is to say what they're not saying, because we are we've been infected at a large and alarming rate. I can remember I was listening to CNN, and President Trump was talking about these drugs. I called Jada because I'm nosy. I was like, check these drugs out, and it was sold out then, and so we're the last to be informed.
Wow.
It's set up for us to fail. It's set up for us to be infected and die. They won't even inform us. And then he talks about some drugs that's not even available. Forget the fact that they don't work. And then you come on TV and talk about Lysol and bleach. And so my heart is for the people. My heart is to help the people. And, I understand everybody don't want to be helped. Psychology tells us that You find out that the stove is hot by touching it, not by me telling you. I understand that, but the few people that I can reach and help, that's what this is for. And we're gonna do this until because we love you all. We want you all to be safe. And we see, uh, we see the government. We see what they're doing. Um, we see the business. We see big business, and they have to get back to business. Um, it's amazing to me that in February, the medical grade mask was all gone. To now put out some some masks, this is not medical grade masks that we needed in February. That Mr. Trump withheld information that it was airborne. We can't get those. So we have to be careful. We have to be careful. And that's why we're doing this. We've been doing this since March, and we're gonna do it until the Lord says so. And so we want to give you good, valuable information that the media is not telling you, that the president won't tell us. He wants to cut down the number of people taking tests. He says if you don't take a test, then the number will go up. Well, that's a great way of handling a situation. you know. And you look at the numbers, and I'm done. I believe it's 2-3 million tested positive, 200,000 died. Well, it's 350 million people in the U.S. So the old folks put it this way: believe half of what you see and nothing of what you hear. And I'm mighty afraid we've been led to the slaughter. This ain't more than conquerors. We've been led by the wrong thing. I just put it that way, because I do believe we're more than conquerors. But we've been led to the slaughter by the media, and the media is not telling us the whole story. And so that's why we're doing this. And so we thank God for you tuning in. We thank God for you, Sister Carmen, Mother Carmen. We thank God, Mother Tids, Lady Jackson, Pastor Jackson. We thank God for you. Sister Chanel is our technician today, and we thank God for her. And so today we're going to do a little bit of review. My first topic is travel. Let's talk about travel. Should we travel? Is it okay to travel? The flights are cheap. Is it okay to go on vacation? Take the family on vacation, on a trip. Is it okay to travel?
Okay. Well, I love traveling, but I don't think this is the time to travel. Now, if you are driving your family in your vehicle to your vacation home, that's a different situation. Then, if you were going to a public airport and a flight and a hotel, that's a no-no. And I say that with those technical terms because inside of an airplane is recirculated air. So there is nowhere or no way for you to prevent contamination should someone sneeze, cough. It's trapped. You can't open a window. You can't move 6 feet because you're now stuck in rows that are, of course, less than 6 feet apart. Even if you try to social distance, the air is trapped, and the risk of contamination and spread in those situations are very high. So I definitely would not recommend it at this time. I don't know what the future will look like or what they will have to change in terms of the airports in order for travel to become safe until they really have prevention or vaccine in place.
Church mother, you have what the old folks say common sense. What do you think about travel?
Well, I would, at this point, I am not really believing anything that they're saying. I believe that since we had information withheld from us for such a long period of time, and we have been rendered, if it wasn't for us praying, there's no telling what could have happened. But I'm not believing them anymore, and I'm leaning to prayer and my own wisdom. And I believe that out in the public period, it's just dangerous grounds. It's a dangerous atmosphere. Um, it would be nice if you could travel, wouldn't have to stop at the filling station, wouldn't have to get something to eat. If it only took you a few hours to get to where you're going, and you don't have to worry about being in the public side. But it, I don't even think it's safe driving down the street in your car with your window open anymore. This is a very, very serious situation, and especially to the senior citizens and those that have underlying conditions. This is just not a time for you to even think about too much leaving the house although you have to get outside. They're saying now don't even walk down your street. If there's any cars driving, um, buses or anything of that sort. So they're suggesting that your recreation should take place in your backyard for you not to get into a public place.
Um, crowds outside crowds.
I still think it's a risk. I mean, anywhere that you are in close proximity with another person that you don't know whether or not they are asymptomatic and or symptomatic and could care less. There are people that know they are positive and are
Right.
doing business as usual.
Right.
You're putting yourself at risk. I still think should be operating on an as needed basis. If
Right.
you don't need it or need to go there, you shouldn't. While we would enjoy it, it's fall. It's beautiful out right now. Perfect weather to be outside and enjoying, your time. But you still need to be careful.
Okay. I think Mother have a list of um, places we don't need to go.
And really, when you look at it, it's everywhere. I mean, I have things that I wrote down, and you're almost at the space of saying the only place safe is my backyard, but it deals with parks, getting gas, the grocery store, taking a walk, a hotel, a playground, a museum, walking down the street, working in your office, visiting the doctor's office, working at school, in school period, trips, weddings, gatherings, hugging. They're talking about the choir singing at church, funerals, um, families getting together for reunions, families visiting your home, visiting friends, visiting relatives, going on trips with friends, flying. The list is endless, because of the fact that 25 to 35% of the people are asymptomatic. They don't even know they have it. That's number one, caution. And then number two, for those people that have it and they choose to continue to go and travel and do those things, you have to be careful of them. And then there are people that sick and don't know it, haven't found out yet. They, I've been told two things. There's families that their doctor said, go home and quarantine yourself. They tested them. And then there were doctors that said, as long as you're not feeling bad, you can continue your regular activities. And if you test positive, we'll let you know. Well, what if they're positive and they're going about their regular activities? That's dangerous. And so, since nobody has a sign on their forehead, I got corona, or wearing a badge, or anything of the sort, you don't know. So you're really taking a chance. And I think that praying about it, being prayerful, awfully spiritual about it, and then just using plain wisdom.
I think a few weeks ago they were saying if you are feeling bad, don't even test. Just go ahead and quarantine
That's
yourself.
what they said.
Um, so we have.
But that's political. That's politically and financially motivated because they need to reopen the economy, they need to reopen the schools. So if you self quarantine, you now don't test, and you now see a decline in numbers in these states, which will lead to things reopening. So that is just false information because if you go home and self quarantine and you get worse, then what? It's too late. Especially if you have underlying health conditions. I do not recommend that we are, as a people, African Americans, our first line of defense for ourselves to stay home and do nothing. Don't do that.
But there again, there you have it. Just bad information. Um, 9 months, 9 of bad information. Uh, do this, don't do that. Do this, don't do that. Well, just stay home. Trump just said, don't even test. Stop testing. If you stop testing, then the numbers will stop going up. To now, if you got a sore throat, just go ahead and clean yourself. Be proactive and quarantine yourself. And my thing is, it's a reason for you wanting to get a test anyway.
Right. Absolutely.
I mean, so why go quarantine yourself when,
And when you want to be tested, the doctor is not supposed to refuse you. But for him to tell you to go home and self-quarantine and wait, that's putting your life at risk.
and then it brings on the scenario of what if you don't have the caretaker? What if you need something during the 14 days? Now you got to go out.
Well, that was another issue that was brought up. There was a senior couple that the doctor told them to go home and quarantine themselves. Their children lives out of town. They needed to go to the grocery store. So they went to 5 or 6 stores. I don't know why they needed to do that much, but they stocked up for a month on everything. And, senior citizens, they have a habit of I buy over here and I'll purchase this over there instead of getting everything at one store or ordering it and having them to deliver it. They didn't.
And if you think about it, we've been saying on this broadcast, have a month's supply of stuff because you never know when it will hit your home or your family. And then what? You have to go out to the store, you have to order. We don't want that to be what happens should you find yourself in that position. And don't forget to get things that you can take care of yourself with. You'll need Tylenol, or you'll need cough suppressant potentially. You'll need cough drops, or just things like that where you may go and stock up on food, but you can't treat your symptoms. You have to be able to contain the fever, and just so we have to be smart when we make our shopping list. And when you make your shopping list, don't make it in your phone, because then you're out in public and you're touching your phone. We have to go back to the old way of making a paper list, because that is one of the biggest contaminants. And I think that Pastor is going to talk about that, our cell phone.
Well, let's talk about it. Let's review and revisit. There's a whole lot of things we need to avoid touching. Surfaces. You said the gas station. Everybody needs to go to the gas station.
Everybody has to go. And when you go, you get a snack. I mean, who goes to the gas station and buy gas and don't get a little something? Chips.
But we've shut down.
Oh no, I mean that has just been like a habit in the past when everything was cool, But
and we have been living in quarantine. We're a healthcare provider, so we come to work. We work at home, store or home. We haven't taken the children out. We haven't been out to eat in months.
and that was one of the
12
places.
months.
That's a no. Restaurants is a no. That's high risk.
And so, call us a fanatic or call us extreme, but it's so much we don't know. I understand the safest place in the whole wide world is in the will of God and at home. And so one of the doctors uh, slipped up and said, hunker down for the winter. I was like, wait a minute, we gonna have a bad winter? But he was talking about the infections and the effects of corona, especially the black community. So you use hunker down for when a tsunami or a
Right,
hurricane
right.
is coming,
Storm, big storm.
a tornado.
What if you went?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you know, and I think he said it on accident, but
He
this,
meant that.
he meant it.
Okay.
He didn't mean to say it, but he
Right.
meant that. He said hunker down, and so we gonna hunker down. Um, um, Again, I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago. We couldn't get into the store without them stopping us,
Right,
wiping down the car.
right.
Now if they leave a sign that's already sanitized. If it's a sign, you know. So I mean, you see how things just evolve so quick. Um, they were handing out sanitary
Right.
wipes and sprays. Now you can't even get help no more. Um,
So that means bring your own. Because if you think about it, nothing has changed but their expense. They want to cut their costs. They don't care if the spread continues. They now have bodies in the store again, and it's too costly for them to provide all of those safety mechanisms for you. So now you have to prepare and protect yourself. And one of the biggest mistakes that we make as women is our bottomless pit purses. And I'm guilty of that. You know, you'll have your sanitizer, but when you come out, you have to dig through your entire purse to find it to clean your hands. So when you pull up to the gas station, take your sanitizer out before you get out and pump so that when you get back in, it's accessible and not, you don't have to touch everything around you to clean your hands. So there's just a lot of things that we need to revisit to refresh ourselves in terms of being cautious and,
And don't get comfortable.
yes.
Because, as it goes on, you have a tendency to not wash your hands as much. No, wash your hands. Be careful. When you pull up to the ATM, don't touch all of the, have gloves in your car. Keep a sanitizer somewhere out, whether you're at home, in your automobile. It doesn't matter, by your bedside, in the restroom. Make sure that you are able to follow these sanitizing CDCs that they're telling us, because that's the best way to protect yourself and your family.
Because the more they open up, the more other people will let their guards down. And we don't want to be caught in the trap because somebody else touched something and they didn't follow the same guidelines that we're setting for ourselves in terms of, contamination. And another big place is the elevator. If you go, you have to get in an elevator. If somebody else is in there, you just wait. Don't get in a crowded elevator. This is not the time for that. And you're not being rude, you're being cautious. Even if I'm waiting on someone, you just play it cool and you wait and you get in when you feel comfortable and you're alone, and don't touch the buttons. If you have to use the bottom of your jacket or shirt, find something to hit the button with, because trust me, it's contaminated with
And be
something.
prepared. When you leave,
Clean
be
it,
prepared.
something.
Be prepared. Have your gloves, extra mask, have everything ready. So if you need it, you got it.
And what do you do after you get out of the elevator and you touch the buttons with with the gloves? Then you go walk around everywhere you go on with this dirty glove on. So, we still have to know how to protect ourselves. And to your point, we have to have another pair. If you touch the elevator, in your mind, you should think that that glove is filthy. Even if you can't see it, it's now dirty. So you can't touch your phone with it. And we see people with the same gloves on all day.
All day.
And they've touched everything, including their phone, their purse, their steering wheel, but they got on their gloves, their mask, and then they get home and they take it off. Well, guess what? You've already contaminated everything around you, so it's not going to do you any good.
So we talked about it. Just planning your day before you leave the house. Have a set plan and stick to that plan. All the way down to the hand sanitizer and gloves. not touching any and everything, and get in and get out.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out how I'm gonna do this voting thing, because I know the lines is gonna be long.
Well, you didn't want to do the mail-in.
Did we miss that?
September,
But
it might be wrong. They should be open up for voting soon.
I'm not sure.
in our area, because we moved, so we have to see. But just plan your day.
Plan your day.
Don't.
We're not saying avoid voting. We need you to vote. It is crucial that you vote this year. But protect yourself when you do.
And plan your day. Don't let anything be a surprise. After you pray, plan your day.
And then another thing, they're saying that Amazon and UPS and the various delivery services is an all-time high. Well, these people that deliver your items, you don't know what type of conditions they are in. You don't know where your package been. So when you go outside and you grab your package without gloves and you bring it in your house and you're opening it, you don't know what you're opening your home up to. So be very careful. Be careful.
Another thing when we were talking about phones, if you can, use your hands-free setting, because that'll prevent you from touching your face as frequent as you normally would to use your phone, especially in your car, because you should be doing that anyway. But it's another way of protection if you have the little, the earbuds that you can talk through anything, and you can say, talk to text. All of those things are additional protections for yourself to make it easier to prevent the spread.
Good review. So sanitize everything. Wipe down. My grandmother used to wipe down everything. She was a germ. What you call a germaphobe? But she knew what was up. She worked at the hospital. She knew what was up, and so we have to be careful. Remember, they said black folks couldn't get this. Trump even had to admit that it affected the young and the old. And so, we're dealing with so much bad information. Let's slow down and nothing, at the very least, get it for yourself. There are places where you can get some good information.
Right.
And I won't say what I'm about to say, but there's some places where you can get some good information. There were some reports that was trumped by the Trump administration that we won't talk about, but there's some places where you can get some good information. Winter is coming. Let's revisit boosting our immune system. What should we do?
Well, let me say this, and I always thought this, but I'm not exactly sure how much I verbally said it. But they're saying now, don't eat anything that's not hot. So if you're gonna have a meal, make sure it's a hot meal. Don't eat anything cold. So I'm gonna leave that right there, okay? And this is coming from professionals. This is not just off the wall. They're saying another thing, there are certain spices and there are certain foods that you can eat that will help your body to build up or to increase. It may not take it where it should be because we've eaten bad so long, but they're saying garlic, lemon, lime, ginger, turmeric, cinnamon, peppermint, peppers, cayenne peppers, grapefruits, oranges, vitamin C, vitamin 12, B12, vitamin D, and zinc. And then they're saying your fruit are very high in vitamin C naturally. They are saying that since your body cannot produce vitamin C, that you should take vitamin C during the duration of the day with a lot of water. So vitamin C is not something that you should take once a day. You should take it several times a day, even if you're taking 1,000 milligrams like every 4 or 5 hours. You should do that, and you should follow it up with a lot of water. This will keep it in your system for the simple reason that your body does not produce vitamin C. They're saying red pepper is rich in it, broccoli, the green vegetables, if they're dark green vegetables, they should be pretty rich in the vitamins and in something that will build your and boost your immunity up. Spinach, um, deep green vegetables, sunflower seeds, green teas, black teas, kiwi, shellfish, yogurt, almonds, and bone stew. If you eat more of these, and when you cook it, you want to be careful not to overcook it, because most of the time we overcook our vegetables. But you have to cook it. This is not the time to eat raw vegetables. They're saying everything should be hot. But if you cook it, don't overcook it. You have your broccoli, you have your Brussels sprouts, and all of those green vegetables are very good for building up your immunity. Along with trying to build up your immunity, they're saying that you need at least 8 to 10 hours of sleep a night. There are a lot of people that their sleep has been hindered by the change in our lives, but they're saying that you need to spend at least 8 to 10 hours of rest at night for all of this to come together and to work for you and to build your immunity up.
That's good information. What medicine should be kept at the house?
Tylenol, you mean in terms of immunity or in terms of when you're treating an infection or a virus?
Little of both.
So there is no prescription drug that you can go and get for coronavirus, as we talked about, and or the flu, because that's going to come up this fall, as we all know. But you want to make sure.
Let me ask you this. Excuse me for interrupting.
That's okay.
Flu shot or not?
Yes.
When?
Well, a flu shot you should probably get. So first of all, the flu shot is only effective for about 6 months. Okay, 6 to 7 months, depending on the person. So you should get your flu shot late September, early October, because you're gonna see flu season peak November, December, and it can last. I think we talked about until at least April, May at the latest. So if you get it too early, your immunity will run out before the end of the season. So you want to try to time it where you get it before it peaks, but it lasts until the end. And
so flu season starts then?
It starts in October.
Okay.
So they start giving it in August. But in my opinion, especially for the seniors, that's too early, because you may not come across it until later in the season, and then your system may not be able to fight it off. The other thing you need to understand is once you get a flu shot, it takes about 2 weeks for your body to build up the antibodies or resistance for that virus. So you're not immune right away, and that's why you need to get it like September, October, into September, beginning of October, so when it peaks, you have that immunity.
So we do provide flu shots here at Healthy Youth. So if you need a flu shot, give us a call, and we will shoot you.
And it's the only protection we have. I know a lot of people don't believe in the flu shot, but right now, with both viruses being active at the same time, it's some protection, which is better than no protection. The thing about the flu shot, and I'm just going to go off of the subject for a second, it doesn't provide 100% protection, but what we do know is it decreases intensive care visits and hospitalizations by 82% in patients who have gotten it versus those who haven't, and it decreases the longevity of that should you get it in severity. So it does help you in the long run.
But will it help you concerning corona?
No.
Okay.
2 separate viruses, 2 separate vaccines.
So you was telling us about the medicine that we should keep at the house.
So the biggest thing I would tell you is to look at the list of symptoms that can be caused by these viruses. You want to make sure that number one, you have things to keep you hydrated. So we talk about having water. Potentially something if you are prone to having issues with your sugar dropping or not, make sure you have glucose tabs if you're diabetic. Because if you're quarantined and you run into a situation where your sugar drops, what are you going to do quickly? So think about things like that for emergency situations. So your insulins, your glucose tabs, your blood pressure medicines, all of your normal maintenance meds, you should try to have a 90-day supply in the house. I say that because right now most insurance companies will allow you to fill a 90-day supply if you request it. This is for two reasons. Number one, you don't have to make 3 trips to the pharmacy, which is a potential contamination place, as we talked about. And number two, if you have to quarantine, you have it in your house. So those two reasons, you want to have all of your maintenance meds. And then you want to think about things like we talked about for fever, such as Tylenol. Tylenol, we talked about, is better than naproxen or ibuprofen for this particular virus because we know that it causes some exacerbations in this situation. So Tylenol is best. Cough suppressants, dextromethorphan, robitussin DM, will help with mucus. And you can do something that's a multi-symptom product like Theraflu or NyQuil, things like that. Just something that you know that works well for you or that you prefer, and it can be a generic that will help to treat the symptoms. Don't forget about the babies and the kids. Make sure you have things that will cover them because if you get sick, it's likely that they will get sick. And we're not talking just corona, but cough, cold, and flu as well. Make sure you have things to treat them in the home as well.
Such as?
Infant versions of the same, cough, cold, flu, and Tylenol. Those are the big things that I would suggest that everyone should go and at least have something in their home. And I'm not promoting particular brands. I would definitely recommend a generic. Anything that you can save money on is fine.
Now, I noticed at one point there was a shortage in some of those drugs. Are there?
Yep, they have replenished, for the most part, most of those things. If you come across any issues, you can call us and we can definitely send you some. But you should be able to get most of them in your local stores.
Real quick, or not quick, they throw in terminology at us too. Herd immunity. Herd immunity is the latest term going out there. Can you explain that to us and show us why this is shouldn't be even brought up?
Yes, so herd immunity is basically the point that you reach where enough of the population has either been infected. There's 2 ways to get herd immunity. Naturally, through actual infection process where you've actually had this infection and you've built your own immunity, or 2, you've received some type of vaccination that will provide a false or fake immunity that you can build up from that vaccine presented. So 2 ways to get herd immunity or immunity overall. So with that being said, natural is not an option because this is a novel or new virus. People don't have a natural immunity for this virus because it hasn't been around long enough, okay? So that's not an option. Number 2, there's no vaccine. That being said, the only way that we would be able to see enough people to be infected with this virus to present a case of herd immunity would be 50 to 67% of the population becoming infected. And herd immunity basically means there's enough people that have been exposed or had been infected or had a vaccine to protect those who haven't from the spread. So when you have a virus, there comes a point where so many people have to have it for it to become contagious. So for example, if there was only one person that had a virus, it wouldn't be considered contagious because only one person has it. But once it gets to the point where it's spreading, that's where you're seeing a population spread. Well, herd immunity happens where you've gotten to the peak or you the curve. Remember, back in the day, we talked about the curve a lot. Herd immunity is when you've got to the peak and you're on the other side and coming down because everyone has already been exposed, and now the infection rate is going down because there's nobody else to infect. You're going down. So that's why they say 50 to 67% of the population has to have it, because you have to get high enough or enough people infected in order for it to be considered herd immunity. If you have one cow, you wouldn't have a herd. You have to have enough in that category in order for it to be considered herd or population immunity.
And can you explain to us what they are now suggesting by saying herd
Well, so a couple of things. So they're saying that
because we have to listen to what they're not saying.
right.
Joe Madison said, "Read with the third eye, hear with the third ear." So they're saying something. We're just not listening.
Right. When they're talking about herd immunity, they're basically saying that 50 to 70% of the population will have this virus. And that being said, that will be about 200 million Americans that will have to be infected before we would reach the state of herd immunity, roughly. And when you think about it, that falls in line with what they're telling you when they say by January, you'll have an additional 200,000 deaths. Well, how do you get these 200,000 deaths? You'll have this increase in cases. So they're looking at potentially 70% of the population being infected and seeing herd immunity in the near future. So they're telling us that this virus is not done. We're not safe. And it's going to continue to spread rapidly until we hit that peak. Remember, you kept asking me about the peak, and I said, we haven't seen it. I can't tell you when we're going to see the end of the curve because we haven't seen it. Well, we can't see it until so many people are infected or they introduce the vaccine. But even with that, we're still at risk of not seeing a true herd immunity because we don't know once the patient has had the infection if they're going to get it again. We haven't tested the vaccine to be able to say how long it lasts. Prime example, you don't hear people talking about herd immunity for flu. You want to know why? Because the vaccine is only good for 6 months. So you can't have herd immunity because it mutates and now they have to revaccinate. So you can't even say for sure that you'll see that with this virus because we don't know what it's going to do 6 months from now. We don't know how effective the vaccine will be, and we don't know how frequent you would have to give it for it to be effective.
And that's the information you're going to get on CNN. Again, it's our desire to give you the real facts, and then you can do whatever you want to do with it. 200,000 in 8 months, another 200,000 in less than 4 months. And that's still in the peak. So we just want to give you the facts. Foster says that there's facts and the truth. And good thing we have both. We got the facts and then we have the truth, which is Jesus Christ. But we just want to give you what the news network, the news engines is not giving us. They just throw words out there, assuming that we're not going to look it up and go research exactly what they're saying. And so when you hear the word herd immunity, they're really saying half the population, over half the population being affected. When that is affecting the Black community at an alarming rate, that's scary.
Because while we don't represent those high numbers of the population, it's going to hit us harder, especially in these, cities where you have high ethnic groups or ethnic populations, and that includes our other shades of brown, sisters and brothers, and Hispanics, and other, nationalities that don't have access to health care, and that's the scary piece because they're scared to go to the doctor. We talk about quarantining ourselves because our doctor recommends it. What about the people who are scared to go to the doctor because they're scared they're going to get deported? They don't have a chance. So now they sit and they're probably living illegal in a house with 7 other people potentially, and they contaminate everybody. So we have to pray that we really get a grasp on what's going on, and we cover, one another in prayer, and we really take heed to the warnings, and we follow the advice of the CDC and do as much as we can to protect ourselves and one another, because they're not doing anything to protect us.
And then another group that is largely at risk, and that's our nursing home, assisted living, and group homes, which is a larger
Yes.
group of people than what we are willing to acknowledge. And then they're at the mercy of not enough help available, no one that's really concerned, and the family members cannot come and visit them.
I've delivered to a nursing home, and the family members were outside of the windows talking to their loved ones. And when you think about that, we talk about the impact financially. People are going to work sick. They're not getting tested.
I can't afford to stay home.
They can't afford to stay home. And you look at the flip side, the business can't afford to lose the worker. So now they say, oh, you're good. You don't have a fever. Come on, let's go. And now you have asymptomatic or potentially feverless people who still are spreading this virus to our loved ones who can't help it but take help where they can get it. So that's bad. And then the patients can't fight it off like the workers, so it will kill them.
So we have so much to pray for, so much to see about, to look after.
I did hear on the, I heard on the other day that starting recently, in the last few weeks, you might have heard it, that if a person has heart trouble and corona, they won't die listed as a corona person, even though the corona complications cause the death, that they're trying to get rid of the corona numbers from growing. So they'll say, well, they had kidney trouble. Or they'll diagnose it and put it on their record that it was some other type of infection or something else, which is so deceiving, because they actually had corona and they received that $19,000 because they were a corona patient and because they took them in, or that $39,000 because they were on the respirator. But when in actuality they died, they don't want to have corona on the death certificate.
And this is all politically motivated. Donald Trump and his administration do not want to admit that they've mishandled this virus in the country. So until the election, they will do what they can to suppress the numbers and the true reporting of what's going on in terms of coronavirus. And that's why you'll see now they're saying, don't go get tested. Now, remember, he originally was touting about being the #1 country leading testing. And, and now it's, oh, no, don't go get tested.
Right.
Why would you do such a thing?
Right.
And when you look at that, and you have kids going to school, and they literally sent a message to the students that said, if you have coronavirus, don't tell anybody. Well, that's not good messaging. And what is your end motive for that? It's not the well-being of your students. So we have to really cover our own children and make decisions that are best for your own family. Our son is not in school.
And this is really a time that our prayer life has got to change enough to really make a difference. I mean, we can't even pray on the same magnitude that we've been praying on. We've got to turn it on high, because we don't know when we're receiving the truth or not. We don't know what's being withheld from us. And so our prayer has to stand in the gap for us.
Yeah, because we the last thought of,
Right?
marginalized, disenfranchised, kicked to the curb. We under the bucket. And it's not set up for us to be successful or to be helpful. healthy. Um, and it almost, if you're not careful, it almost seemed like a ploy to do away with the black folks. If you look at the numbers, and then if you look at the number cycles, it doesn't add up to the tested or the time tested. Uh, None of the numbers add up. None of the numbers make sense of the time span of how they looked at these numbers and reported. Um, and we've been saying from day one, they're not telling us everything, um, but you better believe it. There's a reason why they're not telling us everything. And so we have to look into what they're not saying, and then be mindful of the ones around us. They said the little ones couldn't catch it. Now they spread it. They could spread it more rapidly than adults.
I mean, if you think about everything a child touches, in 5
Put it in
minutes,
their mouth.
you can tell them till you're blue in the face. Don't touch your face. Don't put that in your mouth. Don't, And and it wouldn't be intentional. They will have contaminated your entire home and the neighbors before you blink. So it's not safe. And they're sending these kids to school saying they're going to wear masks and social distance. They don't know what that means. Kindergartners don't know what that means. Preschoolers don't know what that means. How are you mandating that? There's no way.
So we have to be mindful. We have to be prayerful. We have to really truly seek God in this time, and that's just not slang or slogan. We have to seek God and see what He has for us in this season, in this time for our life. We were saying a couple of years ago, going to the grocery store is a matter of life and death. Because there were some shootings and some folks got killed in the grocery store. But now it's really a matter of life and death. And then you could bring it home. So we have to, if we ever need the Lord before, we sure enough need Him now. We sure enough need Him now. And it's almost too late. It's almost too late. Because if you need something from me, and you only talk to me once a year. You need something from me, and you only talk to me once a week, once a month. I would think you only just trying to get something because, so we need to develop and redevelop a relationship with Jesus Christ. Church folks and all, we need to re-get claimed.
Right.
I mean, I ask the question all the time: what happens when God do us the way we do Him?
Oh, wow.
What happens if God think about us the way we think about Him? And then we have the nerve to say, "The Lord knows my heart." Well, yeah, He do.
That's the problem. That's the problem. He knows the heart. Wow.
So we got a lot of work to do. God is. I believe God has given us time to get close to Him.
I believe that.
We've done a lot for. I'm not gonna say the wrong reasons, but we've done a lot for folks, and people, and systems, and groups. Now we need to do for God, because only what you do for Christ is going to stand. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please write them in the chat room, and we'll get to them. Again, we thank you all for tuning in. Our Power NJ Television. We hope that something was said to empower you, to encourage you, to strengthen you, something that you can apply to your life, and then spread it. You get some good information, spread it to your loved ones. Share the link, like the link. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know how you're doing. We want you to know we love you. We're praying for you. We're still thinking about you. We miss you. But at the same time, we want everyone to be safe. Um, we cancel the assignment of the enemy. We cancel the assignment of this herd immunity. Um, we pray that away. We pray that that doesn't have to happen. We pray that the people of God all over the world, all over this planet is safe, is well, and is whole. And we know that it's because of God. It ain't because of Trump. It ain't because of his administration. It's because of God. And we give God all the glory and all the honor. And we are in uncertain times, but we're very certain that we got someone watching over us and looking after us. That's protecting us. And so we thank God for that. We ask that you would be a blessing to this ministry. We have big ideas. We have big plans, big endeavors that we want to do for the body of Christ. And we ask that you would plant seed. You can plant seed by the Square app, by the Cash app, or by placing the check in the mail. We thank you all for your prayers, your support, and your contribution. We pray that God will continue to bless you and to keep you. And again, we thank you for tuning in. Until next time, God bless you. We love you.
God bless you. Love you.